Okay, welcome to game design, where we talk about the fundamentals of game design, some of those core aspects that are really, really important to consider when you're coming up with a game. And these are like things that just kind of happen naturally, but also things that we should really pay attention to, and that if we pay attention to these things, we'll realize these aspects that have been a part of pretty much every game we've ever played, and should be a part of a game that we invent. So let's go ahead and take a look at some of these. So first things first. Now, I just want you to know, I'm still learning this too, and I am doing quite a bit of Googling, but these were the fundamentals that made a lot of sense. So the first one is to define the player experience and the theme of the game that you are inventing. So you have to think about some things. Who is the game for? Is this for kids? Is this for teenagers? Is this for adults? Is this for girls? Is this for boys? Is this for puzzle solvers? Is this for, all those things? And with that said, you have to think of the emotion that you want to get from the game. So are you trying to create a game with lots of surprises in it? Are you trying to create a game with a lot of tension? Are you trying to create a game where people really have to think really hard? So those are all things to consider, and you have to think about how the actual theme supports like the mechanics of the game. Think of like the game as an engine, and there's these different parts that have to like move together, and is your theme and your design of this game going to go well with the way the game actually runs? So we have some examples for you. So first of all, Chutes and Ladders. Who's this for? This is not for an adult. This is for a kid because it's a really simple game to play, and they can follow the rules really easily, and the art is simple and cute. All right, now versus a game like Cards Against Humanity, this is not a game for children at all. If you wanted something similar to Cards Against Humanity for kids, then you go to Apples, okay? So hopefully you've played some of these games and you know what I'm talking about, but these all elicit a different emotion, right? This is just for kids to learn a little bit and to have a little bit of joy. This is for pure shock and like humor, but kind of cringy. And this is for joy with like a family. Versus a game like Twister, which is a lot about like physical comedy, versus chess, which is one of those games that you play where you like to be challenged. You like a puzzle. You like to have to think ahead and figure out strategy. So those are all different themes and everything. All right, now core mechanics, the how. So this is like how the game is set up, and how the players interact with the game and interact with the pieces of the game. So we're just going to jump right into the examples here. So Uno is a really like straightforward kind of card game. You sit in the round and you have that draw deck, right? Like a deck of cards that you're drawing from, and you keep your own hand. Now, this is a setup we all know of, and this works for many other games too, such as poker, but think about poker. Now we have all these other pieces that also fit into the game. It's very different. It's the same kind of setup of like that card game in the round, but we have betting, we have stakes, we have bluffing, we have chips and money involved. So it's a lot that goes into it, and it changes from game to game versus this game where you have to build little bridges and towns and everything, versus Battleship, where it's just one player against one player game, and you are sitting on opposite sides and you're interacting with this game setup much differently. So every game is different. Even when they kind of look similar, they could be very, very different. Now, it is important to have clear objectives and rules. So obviously, a concise goal is usually to win, but how do you win? You need those conditions. You need those, where do I get to in order for me to win and to win first? Now, here's a really, really key thing, which is that every game also has to have constraints in order to win, because then that's what makes the game more fun, the limitations that you have. So again, let's just jump into some examples. So we have a really similar setup here between checkers and chess, right? We have that checkerboard setup and all these pieces, but if you actually look at how the games are played, with checkers, as you can see, you're moving angle to angle, and and stealing pieces, and you're trying to get as many of your pieces across the board as you can while stealing the other players. And then if you look down to the right at chess, yes, you're moving your pieces across the board, but every different kind of pawn there, gets to move in a different way, whether it's diagonally or straightforward or one square at a time or backwards or and the game is different too, right? They have a different goal. You're trying to get your king across, and you have different constraints with your pieces. Again, we have a goal. Twister, you want to stay standing. You want to stay upright. The goal is to not fall, and the constraints are that you have to keep your hands and feet on those in awkward positions on those dots. Another game, Blackjack. It's a really straightforward game. You're trying to get your cards to add up to 21, and what's the constraint? Well, you can't go over, and it's a simple game, but it's really effective and it's really fun, and man, do casinos make a lot of money over it. Now, yes, and just some more examples, which are great, of Operation and Clue. Okay. Now, we do have to make sure that we keep everything balanced and fair. So again, that the game can last and that nobody can win too easily. We want people to have a fair chance. And there are some simple ways in life that we make these games fair. So can anybody think of it? Monopoly? One of the ways we make it fair is by rolling dice and letting chance have, letting randomness have a factor in here. And we also set up everybody with the same amount of money. Okay, Twister, what makes it fair and balanced? Well, you leave something up to chance, which is spinning that spinner, okay? Or, of course, the way that we make this game fair and balanced is simply rock, paper, scissors. All right, now, before we get into design, really looking into design, we have to think about another kind of business aspect of this when you are developing a product, which is you create a prototype first. You're not like, hey, I want to invent this game and invent all the art for it and I'm going to make it and blah. You have to kind of test it out first so that, your game design actually works and people have fun or people get what you want them to get from it. So you make early versions like this and you test it out and you work out the kinks. Think about your phones and how many updates you have to go through all the time because the inventions they put onto our phones, they're still working out the kinks. Even cars have many iterations because they work out the kinks. Never buy the first version of a car. Trust me on that. But you go through different iterations until you get it right. And then when you are successful, you can sometimes take that game design and create other iterations like Monopoly does. Now, personally, I'd rather play the original versus this handheld one. I don't find much joy out of the handheld one. But Monopoly Towers, I would rather play better than anything else because the original version of Monopoly for me just takes too long. But the Towers one is fun because you still get that Monopoly aspect, but it just goes a little faster. But the handheld one, not for me. All right, scalability is very simple. I'm going to rush through this one. You just want to make sure that your game, depending on what you're going for, can be scaled up so that it could be more than just a two-player game sometimes. Not unless you want a two-player game, that's fine. But that's something to consider too, whether it could be two-player, three-player, four-player, or more. So Jenga is a great example. It could be 2 players, it could be 4, it could be 6. It's a great game. Now here's where we're going to come in. So what we're going to do is pay attention to this visual design because that can really, really make us some money, and we're in an art class, so this is the fun part, but we want to create that appeal. We eat with our eyes first, and if we can make some enjoyable art, it can enhance the game much more. So as an example, now, if you've ever played Candyland before, this is a really kid game, and it is not that fun. There's not much to it, but the art is so amazing that in my 20s, I bought a set because I just always wanted to because the art was so amazing. So they got me on that one, I'll admit it. But this is really appealing to kids, all the bright colors and the great characters that they designed. Now, they've got some classic designs that we know of with all the specific colors of clues. Very clever that every person is a color, Miss Scarlet, Mr. Plum, all these characters, and we know that game design setup, and they can make different iterations of it too. There's actually a Simpsons version of Clue, which is awesome. I think you guys know about Pokemon cards. These are like collectible now, but the art is really cool. It takes a long time to develop these characters and make all these great colors and designs and stuff, but it pays off. And you know, now we have different kind of versions of some of these card games that we grew up with that we could play with now, and these are really awesome. So we should look into these things and maybe get a little inspired. And yeah, so that's it for the fundamentals of game design.